Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is a Red Pill Podcast 119. I hope you're all having a beautiful weekend so far. We have a lot to get into today. Definitely want to be recapping how the past week went in this market. And of course, we'll be getting to a couple altcoins that you guys voted on, a couple of fan favorites that we haven't touched on in a couple months. We have Quant, Hedera Hashgraph, persistence and synthetics, as well as, of course, a macro analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP as usual. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. And welcome to anyone who is new here to the mastermind community. Appreciate you joining us. And if you have not gotten access to the Discord, go ahead and send me a direct message over on Patreon with your Discord username and the last 4 digits after that username, and I will write back to you on a Patreon message with the server invite to our Discord. And I hope you're all doing amazing. This is, again, Red Pill Podcast 119. Not the greatest number ever, but it is what it is. But jokes aside, go ahead, get comfortable, get relaxed, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea. If it's the nighttime, go ahead, grab yourself a glass of wine or beer or beverage of your choice. Get relaxed, and let's get straight into things. So, we have this upcoming new moon on July 17th, about a week away. It happens to land on a Monday, Moon Day, just like the last full moon we had actually landed on a Monday as well. So we're getting a little bit of that patterning of that duality, just like how in August we have a blue moon. We have the full moon on August 1st and 31st, 2 full moons in the same month, and I will be creating a full decode for that. Consider that a follow-up from the last decode I just released on the Fed Now service, which we'll be talking a little bit about today. And if you haven't watched that new Fed Now Decoded, definitely check it out. It's a part of an ongoing series that I titled the Jubilee series, or the 2023 Jubilee series. And I believe it'll be something that we could all look back on into, the years to come and go, wow, we were really piecing this all together. And it's been amazing to watch it all unfold the way that it has, and to have lived through it and just been present and taking action along the way, which is what makes this community so beautiful. So getting into some of this code here, we have July 17th being this upcoming new moon, and that also happens to be the start of sidereal Cancer. I'm just going to go over here and talk a little bit about the zodiac, and will be in tropical Cancer at the same time as well until around July 22nd, before moving into Leo on July 23rd in the tropical system. And we'll still be in sidereal Cancer all the way up until August 16th. All in all, we will be in Cancer during this time, and the new moon on July 17th will also be in Cancer, for those of you who consider the lunar astrology. Now, going a little bit deeper on Cancer, it is the symbol put at the capstone of the Royal Ark in Freemasonry. Going into the Gematria, we have Cancer giving us 44 in English Ordinal. That's your power number, 44. 4 is the door, the window, the portal that is constructed by man in this matrix. You could consider 44 as 2 doors, the entrance and the exit, the internal and the external, merged into one place, to one realm. So the symbol is the crab when we're talking about the astrology. And it also looks like the numbers 6 and 9, or the yin-yang symbol, symbolizing the balance of the union of polarities, the black within the white and the white within the black. So let's get into the code a little bit more on what this symbol is. We have crab giving you this 24 in English Ordinal, and it's interesting how July 19th, let's get over to that date, we're going to see right there that it has a 24 standard date numerology, just like I was showing you over here with this 24 by the code. And it also has 69 double-digit date numerology, just like I was showing you with the symbolism of Cancer. So we're getting this, and I'm showing you now how you could apply all this gnosis to the code and make more sense of what is going on here. So it's all symbolism, guys. It's all symbolism. And when we talk about astrology, it's really important that we bring it back to the mythology, right? Now, the sign ruler of Cancer is the moon, so consider this time frame in the lunar astrology from July 16th through 18th when we're in Cancer, when the moon is in Cancer, as well as that'll be the sign that we're in sidereal and in tropical systems. So this should noticeably impact the crypto market, since we know crypto and Bitcoin specifically moves with the lunar cycles. Now, since we're talking about the new moon and we tend to move bullish out of a full moon into a new moon, then we could consider this time frame a more bullish time frame. Just kind of setting us up again today. It is July 9th and we're talking about an outlook up until around July 17th when we have that next new moon. So let's just go back to the code for a moment. We have the moon, which is what we're talking about, giving you 23 in Chaldean, of course, tied back to Bitcoin, giving you 23 in Chaldean, specifically talking about the new moon, which gives us 36 in full reduction, which again ties back perfectly to Bitcoin, 36 in full reduction, the same cipher. And whenever you see this 36 number, remember you want to say the number out loud. 36 or 36, which is 666. That's another esoteric way of looking at the numbers and getting to the bottom of what some of these numbers symbolize. Remember, when we speak of the number 666, we're not talking about the number of the beast or any of this biblical stuff. We're actually talking about carbon. Carbon being 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. We are the carbon man, right? That is what we are here in, carbon-based life forms. Everything is carbon. When we consume, we eat carbohydrate, sugars, that is carbons. And we won't go too deep right now, but I think it's really amazing to just show that new moon gives you that 36, Bitcoin gives you that 36 in the same cipher. We know that Bitcoin is tied to the movement of, the moon and the moon cycle, no matter where we are in it, especially regarding eclipses, plays a huge role in Bitcoin, which then, as Bitcoin being the power plant of the entire cryptocurrency market, if Bitcoin moves in one direction, everything else will follow. So the more and more we dial in this system, this strategy of decoding, you're going to see that we're going to become much better at being to, quote unquote, predict the energy and direction of markets. So we can see this so-called bullish energy until the next first quarter moon. So we're going to go back over here, and the first quarter moon coming up will be July 25th. All right. Now, this July 25th date is important because it will actually be the next Federal Reserve FOMC meeting. And you can see that right here on the federalreserve.gov's monetary policy website. July 25th through 26th will be their next meeting. And we've been talking about this a lot. We actually discussed it quite a bit on that last Decode that I released, FedNow Decoded. So between this time frame, many anticipate the launch of the new FedNow service around July 21st. But again, that is not confirmed. It's purely speculation at this time. But the Fed has stated on their FRB website that they still plan to launch this new FedNow service in, I quote, late July. So at least we can assume it will be around the next FOMC meeting. Seems to make sense, right? Perhaps a couple days before they do the meeting, and then we see how things go. And we have a lot to get into today in the charts specifically, so that's why I wanted to just breeze through this code, because a lot of it we've already prepared ourselves with that FedNow Decoded that I released. So essentially, we should be seeing this continuation of what I was calling a relief rally or an automatic rally into new highs for Bitcoin in this specific microcycle, breaking above 31,000 into 32,000 and filling that upper CME gap that we talked about around 35K very soon. So hope you guys enjoyed just this, little recap of the code. touching on a couple things, but we're going to keep it real simple today, not spend too much time on the dates because we're prepping ourselves for this upcoming transition into the next FOMC meeting, as well as what it will be like with this FedNow service going live. So let's get over to this chart. We're on the Bitcoin. Let me go over to the index chart. Alrighty. I'm going to turn off these phases and go to this trend line here that I think is really important. We have this bottom trend line, and it is showing me these touch points have been very consistent. And we got a touch back in the beginning of this year, another touch on March 10th, and then recently on June 15th, followed by rallies after every single touch. So this is a very key trend line now, because not only has it been in play for essentially 190 days, it's also been a critical support level, and it's shown a bounce after every iteration, right? So this white support trend line, I'm going to keep on my charts until it starts to be affected on the downside, and this could ultimately tell us when to anticipate a larger correction for Bitcoin. Until then, it's been holding as a support. And from the last touch of the micro trend line to the top of every one of these microcycles, we're going to measure that out right now and show you a little bit of a trend we could consider for perhaps the next move up for Bitcoin, and when to anticipate that next move up and what price it should be. Okay, so it seems January 6th was the last time, or the initial time, we stopped trading along this trend line before bouncing to this microcycle high over here about 41 days later, and a move of a total of about 50%. So keep that in mind, 40 days, 50%. Now we're going off this March 10th correction, which we know was that very critical moment of the Silicon Valley Bank failure, and we had things going on with Silvergate and many psyops surrounding blockchain, crypto, and it set the tone for some bearish, expectations. But the way this market always works is the New World Order gets you very bearish in sentiment and worried, fearful, before they send the market in the other direction. This is happening time and time again, and retail continues to get finessed every single time. Here in the wolf pack, we've been keeping it calm, looking at the charts, knowing about what's to come way far in advance. So that way, whenever these bearish narratives come into play, we just consider it static. And the same thing we could utilize in the other direction when there's these too good to be true theories that are making people very bullish based off of news. We also know that's static. Very similar to like this Hinman emails thing that was going on with XRP, and the XRP community was believing that that would be the moment that the charts would start to go parabolic. And I was telling everyone how I felt, which was it's just static. And I was telling people before the event happened, before the leaks, everything. It's important that you realize this, because now we have a lot of data, time and time again, proving it. And this isn't about hurting anyone's feelings or anything like that. We're here to get out of the tribalism and see clearly. So I hope this form of analysis shows you that. It's why when we are really analyzing what's going on, we could be much more sophisticated in our actions, not just in the way that we analyze. Actually, how we will respond to the market given the circumstances, given the environment. Getting back to this, we had this larger correction into March 10th, and moving up over the next 35 days, about 58%. So we have here 40 days over about 50%, here 35 days over about 57%. So let's just chalk it up to about 35 to 40 days after touching this trend line here on June 15th, a movement of about 50% to 55%. So we're going to bring this down over here, scroll in a little bit, and we're going to go off around 24,000. Where was this exactly? 24,700, which is right there. We're going to go over 35 days, and we're going to move up 50% to show you the quickest and lowest expectation, again, based on these prior iterations, which is limited data, but I'm going to give you data from the past and also show you kind of how I'm looking at this. So we're over 35 days, 50% brings us to around 37,200. Right around that red trend line that I shared with you guys a couple weeks ago. You're going to go off the same point, about 24,700. We're going to go over 41 days, and then we're going to move this up about 55%. It takes us to 38,600. So you notice the timeline here is around July 20th through July 26th, right into the next Federal Reserve meeting, the next FOMC meeting. So consider this amount of time and the idea that we'll be around the next new moon, which is on July 17th. Let me make sure 100% around exactly July 17th. And I talked to you about this moment between the new moon and the first quarter moon, and that first quarter moon perfectly on that date. If we're taking 40 days off of the last back test of this trend line. Now, I actually want to revisit the 2015 chart as I promised you a moment ago, and we're going to look at the 2015 chart in June. So over here, we have June 1st, which was the microcycle low at that time, and it landed perfectly on this moment right on a full moon. You could see those white dots are our full moons. And we have our new moons topping out, microcycle top, moving into a full moon bearish, out of the full moon, continuing into a new microcycle top on the new moon, rinse, repeat. Anyways, we're going to turn that off, and I just thought that was pretty interesting how we bottomed out in this microcycle along this horizontal support right here, and then bounced off of that exact full moon date on June 1st. And if we take from this moment over to this cycle top, it was 41 days. Exactly what we've watched happen past two iterations of backtesting that trend line. So I think it's really fascinating, especially, let me show you, if we were to take a full pull down at around $219 up to this exact top, it's putting us pretty much at 44% move. So I just think that 44% thing is interesting, going off of how I was talking about 44 earlier, decoding that a little bit for you guys, and how Cancer equals 44. And right here on the date of July 15th, we're in the sign of Cancer. So it's pretty interesting, right? How that final push up for Bitcoin before, look at this dump into August. Really violent dump. Basically double bottom. And this didn't last long. I mean, we rebounded off of that instantly. And within a couple weeks, we were on a trend reversal, which continued as a trend reversal for 800 something days. So this is really why I'm paying attention to the next big dump in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because I don't think it's going to give us much of an opportunity to be at those lows again. I think it's going to be a gift of gifts, and I'm going to take it very, very seriously, as much as I am taking seriously the next move up for the crypto market. It's kind of those final moments, and I don't use that word lightly. This isn't like a clickbait concept. You know, really, we've seen these lows not last too long in the Bitcoin charts before reversals. You know, even with the C19 moment right here, this is a V-shaped recovery. We got back above that macro 382 fib and touching on the 0.5 fib really quickly, guys. Like, this did not give much time to take advantage of that buying opportunity. And remember the narrative, it was very fearful. I do believe we have an opportunity here. So we showed a couple of instances where recently we've been bouncing off of this key support trend line, moving over about 35 to 40 days, topping out with about a 50 to 55% move. Here we had this iteration of the same amount of days where it lasted about 41 days, and we moved up 44%. So if I was to show you off of this recent low and entertain the idea of 44%, 41 days later, let's see where this brings us. So exactly 41 days there and 44%, and we'll be up 35,684. And remember what I said, we also have Bitcoin giving you that 36 in full reduction. So that would be really interesting if Bitcoin was to push up into that 36, especially in this year, where we're in the year of 2023, in the Hebrew year of 5783, which adds up to 23. So just a quick recap. We're in the 23 year. 5783 Hebrew year adds up to 23. The year I'm calling Jubilee adds up to 23. We would call this the year 2023. And we have all these other connections back to this number 23. So would be pretty awesome actually to see Bitcoin breach that 36K level, maybe swipe up a little higher on a wick, get rejected, and that would be around our high for this year. Be brilliant if it played out that way. So let's consider in the year of the tiger, we watched Bitcoin trade into 15,000 after tiger equaling 15. I mean, we talked about this before, how insane this all is, and how in that same year, in the year of the tiger, was Satoshi Nakamoto's 47th birthday. And on his 47th birthday was the last time Bitcoin has tested 47K since. So we know it's all coded in. Now, getting back to this, I just want us to consider that idea of us moving up 44% off of these lows, putting us into around 36,000 to 37,000. And that matches perfectly with the analysis I've shared with you before about this upper CME gap sitting at around 35,200. Filling that gap would be awesome. And moving up a little bit higher, of course, we would welcome that, but we can't get too bullish right now, unless there's a reason to. Now, let's see, we've touched on everything. The idea here about getting into this zone is very technical as well, because you guys have probably heard of a dead cat bounce where we trade into the 0.5 fib, get rejected, and then peel back. And once you start to trade below the 236 in reaction to that, you might even break lower. I don't think it's going to happen with Bitcoin, because the way Bitcoin's automatic rallies go, at best we double bottom. And that would be, again, a gift if Bitcoin was to return back to that 15,000 range. It would almost be a repeat of what happened in 2015. Is that possible? Yes, of course. Will it last long? Probably not. It'll probably be very short-lived, just like it was with the C19 crash, just like it was with the crash that we saw back in that 2015 example that I showed you before. I think it was a single day red candle. The next day we recovered back up, and then within a week we were already on a trajectory back into a full-blown recovery. Okay, so of course making it only up to about 35,000, 36,000 is not the most bullish relief rally by any means, but it still goes according to our overall theory of there being at least one push up before a larger correction into the fall time. And when I say fall time, I mean kind of after August into September, October, November, kind of your Q4 moment. And this recent move actually would continue to solidify my theory that even regardless of starting the solar cycle, which was on April 20th on that solar eclipse, that I was not fully convinced that that was it for Bitcoin, and I still saw higher highs in the cards. And thus far, it's actually been proven with a new microcycle high that we got last Thursday. And we saw this push up right here to about 31,500, whilst the prior microcycle high on April 14th back here, before the solar eclipse, was only around 31K on the nose. So far, we're on track. But now let's get into the actual TA and see what our fibs and indicators are telling us. Tonight's close is not only a weekly close for the crypto market, it will also be a 5-day candle close and a 2-day candle close. So let's analyze the weekly first and then move into our daily analysis as we usually do. We're going to be starting here on the daily for Bitcoin. This is going to be much of the story copied over to Ethereum as well, so keep that in mind. I'm going to be turning off all of this noise in a moment, but I just want to show you how this 0.5 fib is sitting there at 32,700, and so far we've gotten within 5% of that level. So we're super close to getting to that key moment, which would be when to anticipate the finality of an automatic rally. So what I've taught you guys is getting above the 382 fib is when we call it automatic rally. But then when we start to get above the 0.5 fib is when we start to anticipate the final moments of it. And we could have everything from the 0.5 fib to the 702 fib in a single week. That's how it works. It looks kind of like this back here, where you could see off of trading around this 0.5 fib. Once we started to hold that level, we just swiped up in a couple weeks and then started a downtrend after. This idea we could look at as well back here where we got above the 0.5 fib finally. I mean, look at all this resistance on the 0.5 fib, 170 days, and then finally breaking above it, boom, real quick, and then got back. Of course, this iteration's a little bit different because that was a different cycle. There was way less altcoins back then, way less on and off ramps for crypto. I mean, nobody was even buying crypto on their cell phone at the time. It was everyone kind of believed crypto was a scam unless you knew it. You know, people didn't even know that it went from less than a penny all the way up here to $1,200. All of that was just ignorance. The whole time people were calling it a scam. Mainstream media was calling it a scam, etc. But clearly this chart tells a different story. Now, getting back to what we're seeing here locally is we're about to kiss that 0.5 fib. And if there's any time that we should anticipate this, it should be soon. You know, it really should be soon. Not my opinion, just after looking at this structure and looking at with all the bearish narratives after Binance.us had what was going on with the SEC, with Coinbase and the SEC, without any clarity and no end to the Ripple and SEC case and the Hinman emails coming out, that not creating any, you know, all of this like bear on bear on bear energy, and then Bitcoin still, you know, goes up. So I think that we are in a setup now that's proving that when we study Wyckoff method, it is way better than getting lost in the sauce of news. You know, Wyckoff tells you what to anticipate a half a year to 1 year before any news could possibly come out. So it's a much safer bet to learn TA, responsible, like not to be, you know, overly believing in it for insane leverage trades without protecting your position and having no, you know, having no risk management in place, of course. Like, you always want to consider all that stuff. But with the idea of how Wyckoff method works, it really, really allows you to see where am I in this cycle, whether it's a macro or micro outlook. This 0.5 fib is really close to getting tested. So I want to turn this off now just so you guys get an idea of the range that we're looking for the upside, which would be somewhere between 33 and 38, right below that 618. Hide the drawings. Going to look at some of our fibs, or some of our moving averages. We are holding all of the key moving averages on the weekly. We're trading far above this 8 simple moving average. It's sloping to the upside. Both 200 sloping to the upside. 55 simple is sloping to the upside for the first time in a very, very long time. Pretty much it started to roll over back here in 2022. So it's been almost, moving on 2 years. That's a really positive thing to see, family. And another really positive thing to see about this is look at the last cycle where when we finished our automatic rally, we actually traded back into the 55 simple moving average on the weekly. We tested on it for a while, had a little bit of a bull trap before this black swan event, of course, C19 crash, but then we got right back up to the 55 simple moving average. So I want you to write this down and take notes of this. This is very serious. I'm not telling anyone to trust or rely on an indicator, but this kind of tells me that the 55 simple moving average should be where we go next regarding a buying opportunity for Bitcoin. Of course, we could get wicks below it, of course. And then any time that we spend under the 55 simple moving average is a gift, okay? Anytime that Bitcoin is trading under the 55 simple on a weekly chart is a gift. Sub 22 Bitcoin at this time is really, really an insane opportunity. And the one difference between this cycle and the last one, and I'm sure most of you who are technically inclined can see it, it is the fact that these 200 moving averages are above the 55 simple. So that is kind of odd. We have yet to really see that structure. When you're looking at weekly candles and these moving averages, it's obviously very, very long term, because this white moving average is a 55 week, okay? Now, getting this white moving average to cross above the 200s, in my opinion, will be similar to like Amazon after the .com bubble recovery. That's like really big. For anyone who knows about, you know, anything regarding technical analysis. You see that this was the dot-com bubble crash when we got above that 55 simple in reaction to it all and had this wolf cross. We went on a rally that pretty much never ended, and we have yet to see that bad of a crash in Amazon. Holding on this 200 and having this final cross right here, we maintain that structure all the way until quite recently. So could this be something to consider for Bitcoin and blockchain technology? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If we did not have this 2007, subprime mortgage crisis, I think we would have continued to see these tech stocks just rally as usual, par for the course. This is insane how this maintained its uptrend with very little volatility comparatively to what it experienced from the dot-com bubble crash to that recovery maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. So this is a really cool chart, and I think we could learn a lot from it, especially for those who are interested in crypto and blockchain technology and having something to look at from the past to consider. This 55 simple being below the 200s that we're getting right here in this recent Bitcoin chart is something that's never happened for Bitcoin, but it has happened in the past. So I believe when we see this 55 simple cross above the 200s next time, that will start to make the gains and losses of Bitcoin shrink. So some of you are saying, Waters, can you just speak English to me? So sure. What's going to happen, I think, in the next bull run is Bitcoin's probably going to get into close to six figures, maybe not even get there. Maybe it only gets to 96. Doesn't really matter. It's still a large gain. It could go up much, much higher. I will entertain it when I see it. We're going to stay conservative right now, especially because it's just July of 2023, and our outlook for another bull run is into the end of 2024. So we have plenty of time. But I do think we're going to continue to see diminishing gains, diminishing returns, and diminishing losses. So after the next bull cycle, I think we're going to start to see Bitcoin flatline, and it's going to catch wherever it's at and hold those levels probably within a $20,000 window. So somewhere probably between like 70 to 90K, and from after that it'll probably be between 80 and 120, and then it'll be like within 120 to 90, and it's going to start to really stabilize over time. It's not going to have these massive rallies to like 500,000 like some people believed. Like, remember what Michael Saylor was talking about? That guy really didn't do too well. So just consider some of this stuff. These ideas of these huge parabola type charts and then huge corrections, I think it's going to come to an end pretty soon on Bitcoin, because I do see a similarity from the post.com bubble and the maturity of the market cap, like we saw with something like Amazon, Apple, like after the .com bubble era, which was this massive correction right here, it was pretty much, continuing as long as they print money and as long as the technology remains and stays, above water. Let's get back to this Bitcoin chart. We're having fun with our theories. I hope you guys enjoy when I share them. So on the weekly side of things, we're looking really, really good. We have this weekly close last week above the prior highs of April, and we're holding as a support as of now. It would be great to see Bitcoin get bought up a little bit tonight into the end of our close, but what are we, $300 away? So that's nothing. CME could open tonight and Bitcoin can go straight to 30,800 to finish off the weekly. Now let's go over to the 5-day. Oh, actually, before I do that, let's see where our EMAs are at. All right, so we are looking very, very good because we had this 21 get above the 200 simple. This puts us very, very close to full-blown bullish posture, sans the 55 here at the bottom that we already talked about ad nauseum. We have this 34 EMA that is below the 200 simple. I think that would be a huge indicator. If we can see that cross, that'd be very nice. Let's get the Bollinger Bands. All right. Clearly seeing pushes up into this topside band. We now have this medium band coming up above the 21, so it's matching. That's like pretty much your 20 simple moving average. Oh, okay, huge thing. One moment. Let me see if I can find a quick iteration of this cross. One of the things you guys want to look out for as you're getting more the intermediate level with TA, look out for when these Bollinger Bands, topside or bottom side band, cross a key moving average, such as your 200s or your 55 or your 8. We're about to have the bottom side band cross above the 55 simple. They're kissing together right now. See a couple iterations of this. It's really annoying how this data gets so skewed and weird. Yeah, it's hard to look at. I don't have the time right now to go research every single moment, but we could see one of these examples right here. We got this bottom side band to cross above that 55. I do think that would maintenance the uptrend, considering that 55 analysis that I shared with you earlier. Anytime below that 55 simple on the weekly is a gift. Okay, let's get over the 5-day. Turn off these Bollinger Bands, looking messy. All right, so we have this 200 simple sitting at around 34.1. We have yet to test that since we broke through it on June 10th, which was right around an eclipse. That was a critical eclipse. That was the Terra Luna ritual. Yeah, I'm sure you guys remember that. So that was pretty much the last time we tested it since breaking through that level. Coming up and getting back to it would be definitely something you see in automatic rally phases for sure. Yeah, you could see that moment right around here. Oh, okay. Super interesting. Wow, guys. All right, remember earlier we were talking about the month of June into July of 2015? Well, you see this dark green moving average. Look at where we topped out before this correction. Right there on the 200 simple moving average on the 5-day chart. Similar setup. I mean, I really do feel that this 2015 through 2017 moment right here is what to anticipate on our next bull run. We might have a very easy bull run in 2024 for Bitcoin. Like, it might be a lot easier to predict. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but when we were doing the crypto mastermind course that I sell, that course shows how this 21 moving average was such a critical thing on the weekly chart for Bitcoin. Let me turn off. So here we are in the weekly, and you look at this yellow or orange moving average, you're going to see that we just kept touching that 21 over and over again until we reach the end. Wow. Like, if Bitcoin was to finish this automatic rally, come back down below these key moving averages, and then once it gets back above it again and they switch into bullish posture, to me, that's game on. That's when to anticipate Bitcoin to be in a full-blown, bullish recovery. And that 21 is going to be key. Right now, this 21 is sitting at 27,000. And a piece of me does feel like Bitcoin will trade below 27,000 in the fall time. But of course, we just have to see when that comes. So on the 5-day analysis, we're looking really good regarding the EMAs. We're in bullish posture. Turn those off, put on. We have everything pretty good right now, except we have yet to trade above the 200 simple. So that does look like a nice target on the 5-day. A little back test, maybe a short-term rejection, and then getting above it and holding it for a moment for the finality. That'd be good. 2-day analysis, we are starting to close below the 8. Yeah, that's obvious. So I'm just going to skip to the daily because recently we've started to flatline. It's pretty obvious that 31,300 to 31,400 is a sell wall. Bitcoin needs to get above that. It's continuing to get rejected. Closing below the 8 simple moving average is not ideal. So getting Bitcoin back above 30,600 today would be good. But as for the EMAs, I talked about the importance of the 21 exponential on the daily and the weekly. I like to keep things simple and just focus on that. And we've back tested it, a little bit of a bounce, holding above the 13 moving average right now. So that's looking good. All in bullish posture on the daily. Bollinger Bands are pinching together right now, kind of a moment we got back here. You can see they expanded from top to bottom, and then when they pinched together, we coiled up around the 13 EMA before moving one leg up higher. Just keep that in mind. We're coiling up right now. Like, we've been spending over 2.5 weeks, going on 3 weeks, trading at 30,000. So something's got to give. Like, it needs to be directional soon. And Bitcoin does really like to move down before moving up. So if it was to have a short-term correction, it would not be weird to see a test of this bottom side Bollinger Band somewhere around 29,000. So keep that in mind, guys. 29,000, which is just $1,000 lower. Let me turn on this, see if we have anything else. All right, we could sort of entertain this trend line. I do see, let's see where 29 would be. Somewhere into next week. And then pivoting out of that could be quick. You know, Bitcoin can do 10% candles, no problem. Like, you know, 2 days right here, Bitcoin was already up 12%. So even if we got down to July 12th or 13th, down to touch those lower 29K levels, like I just spoke about a moment ago, the pivot out of that could be 2.5 days later, and we could already be on to 32K. That's all it takes with Bitcoin. We know how it rolls. It's very, very dramatic when it wants to reverse. So really the line in the sand here is going to be this key trend line. You want to just keep that on your charts, and that's in alignment with around that FOMC meeting timeline around the 382 fib. So if this starts to go against what we've been theorizing about one more leg up between now and the next FOMC meeting, or it could be in response to after the FOMC meeting, bringing more bullish relief. We don't know how it could go, right? But just consider this new moon and how we do tend to move up around that time. If it would be invalidated if we started to trade below this 382 fib. Okay, so that's all the analysis. That's really thorough. I think I gave you guys everything. We spent the first part of this analysis talking about upside, and where I think Bitcoin's next big move up is probably around this red line right below the 618. If it kisses 40,000, great. It's very psychological level. Outside of that, you know, I don't want to entertain too much higher. And then we've just spent this last half of the analysis talking about downside. All right, we're getting over to ETH. Not too much to say here. We could very well end this next move up for ETH on a double top on this top. Same level. I mean, it's looking very sluggish right now. Bitcoin dominance around 51 into 52%. It's not showing. It's showing in ETH and how it's been choppy. Whilst if it was similar to Bitcoin, it would be trading at this microcycle high of April, but it's not. It's trading about, 12% lower. Has everything to do with the dominance at this time. And I think the same thing showing with XRP and a lot of other altcoins. So keep that in mind. This 0.5 fib situated at 2,000. I do think that's the next upside move for ETH. As for this bottom support line, we have broken it effectively. And that's why it's important to consider fibs as well. So you have horizontal data as well as your trend lines, more vertical trend lines. So I do think we're pretty much on the support level. If we were to invalidate this, it would be a trend reversal by trading lower than a daily of 1650. Until then, we're making higher lows and it's looking really good. Let's look at RSI. Just right around 50, right around bullish control. Really not a whole lot to say here on Ethereum. Looks good on this support line. Let me turn this all off and pull up some indicators. Okay, so remember what we were talking about before about having this 55 start to cross above the 200s, and that's kind of in the process of happening for Ethereum on the weekly chart. This 200 is kissing the 55. We're holding this 8 simple moving average. That's really nice. Closing below it is not nice. And you can see that on deeper pullbacks, we've been respecting a weekly close on the 34 exponential moving average. Thus far, again, holding it really nicely since it's moved into bullish posture, and it's currently still in bullish posture with the 13 above the 21 above the 34. really no party until it could start breaking above 2100. So we just have to leave it at that until it catches up to Bitcoin, which it hasn't. Okay, now we're on XRP. I know people want this update, but it's like, what can you say? You know, there's really not much to say with this. On the daily, we're starting to get a very, negative cross as of last week, where this EMA band is now in a bearish posture. We can see here that we've gotten a wolf cross to the downside where the 8 crosses below the 55. 55 is starting to become a resistance. 200 exponential starting to be a support. So on the daily, this is not looking incredible. It's just ranging. And we talked about this theory of the 2-day cross on XRP. Let me just revisit that because I had that interview with the Bearable Bull, and some of you might have watched it, or you heard the analysis here first on a Red Pill podcast about this 55 simple moving average crossing the 200 simple moving average. It happened right back here. So I'm talking about that cross, and we moved up for the next 68 days, topping out right here into late November of 2020, right around the flare airdrop shenanigans. And then over here, we've had this iteration of the cross where it was around May 1st, 68 days later brings us to now. All right. So it was just an interesting thing to share. And what really was wild was when we analyzed this cross to happen on the downside, which was right around February 16th of 2022. And going 68 days later was the last time that XRP has traded at 68 cents since. So we have 68 days after this 2-day cross here, we traded into 68 cents as pretty much for the first time in multiple years, then got rejected with this larger correction, 68 days. And then after this cross in the opposite way, 68 days later was the last time we traded at 68 cents. So I was thinking about how this could be a code that we have to consider. Here we are, we're about 68 days later. We're not seeing anything just yet. It would be, miraculous at this moment if we were to just start seeing green candles. But I'm not here to play the game of miracles. We have to be honest. And nothing is going on so far on this XRP chart. It'll be something we just have to see how this weekly opens and how perhaps this weekly closes tonight. Really, kind of boring us out over here in XRP land. So I would like to see a move, obviously, above 54 cents and 60 cents. We're not getting that right now. We need this chart to get exciting again, and it's very boring. Now, the good thing is I like boredom. Boredom's an opportunity. But I've already accumulated my XRP back here in March, those final buys that I was doing. And my average in this coin is below 30, much below 30 cents. So for me, it is what it is. In my long-term vision, this is still accumulation territory, but I would rather play conservative and wait until September for any buys. Right now, I'm looking to de-risk. So I'm not just going to de-risk based on dates. I'm not going to de-risk based on eclipses. I'm not going to de-risk based on just TA. I de-risk based on this holistic system. And thus far, I think I still see another push up for XRP. I'm open-minded to any corrections, and if that's the case, then it's no different story than what we were in just a couple months ago. So it's like a disregard moment. And I hope everyone's on the same page with that, because when it comes to investing, you're getting yourself into probabilities. And ultimately, if you don't have a long-term outlook, it's going to be hard for you to navigate this all. So interesting to see how we've made it over 68 days from that cross, and we have to see how it plays out. Let's just get to the basic TA without considering any of the esoteric stuff. And we have started to close below that trend line. Not bueno. So we had this trend line in place since March. It's been about 100 plus days. Started to trade below it effectively just a couple of days ago. Yep. And we were also entertaining this big triangle formation, how the apex of it comes in at the end of this month, right into that full moon on August 1st. This needs to make a move soon. Still just trading on the 236. So I'm not able to really say too much more. We're ranging. We're in the same range, essentially, that we've been in for over 100 days. We need to change trend in order to really have much more of an update. Thus far, though, we are holding an uptrend. Getting over to Quant. All right. It's been some time since I think I covered this. We're looking at a big horizontal trading range, big fib pull. We're in a logarithmic chart. Our fib that is pulled is in log scale. It is, and we have it from just your traditional bullish fib from a swing high to a swing low. It's funny how it's trading at 103 right now, just like Mercury equals 103 in Gematria. It's Quant. Quant equaling, okay. Yeah, super interesting. 21st prime. This is Saturnian number right here. Whenever you see 73, remember it's the 21st prime, and that 21 comes back to Saturn. 21. But let me see. Quant. Oops. Giving you the 17. It's the 7th prime. So that also gives you more Saturnian energy because September, or the month of Rosh Hashanah, is all Saturnian. That is your 7th month. Septim is 7. So 17 is tied to 7 through the 7th prime. Again, more Saturnian numerology. Your 7th day is your rest day. That is your Sabbath day. Sabbath is Saturn. Okay? Very important. QNT, right? Oh yeah, 5115. That's definitely a number that we've been talking about a lot lately. We had that Year of the Tiger, that 15 connection. N10 with Quant. This is interesting because Quant equaling 1 and 9. That's AI. All right, yeah, super interesting. Okay, right there. Sorry. Chronos giving you that 27 in Chaldean, just like Quant and QNT, the ticker symbol and the coin, 27 in Chaldean. Another tie back to Father Time, Saturn. And anything with Q is really interesting. You know, Q is your 17th letter. Again, your 7th prime number. And Quant is short for quantum, which, I mean, again, you can't escape it. 107, that's 17. You remove the 0, the rules of numerology, that brings you back to 7 again. And then 27, just like Chronos. Oh, sorry, I keep spelling it. There's so many ways to spell because vowels are interchangeable. But again, you have that 27, like quantum is 27, like Quant and QNT is 27. That 27 also does tie back to Jupiter. And of course it does, because Jupiter is the son of Saturn. It's all family. Quant, very interesting. What's the symbol here? I got to look at the symbol because it's been some time. And I'm not going to decode every coin. I'm just interested in this one because I know it's been getting a lot of prana lately. Okay, well, first and foremost, black and white symbolism. The black symbolism, again, comes back to Saturn. Oh, yeah, you see right there, the hexagon. So there you go. There's your Saturn's, eye of Saturn, Saturn's hexagon. Boom. It's right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 666, guys. That's what this is. Anything, yeah, this is your 666. That's what Quant. And Q is really interesting. I'm going to help you guys with this. A lot of people overlook the Q. You know, you've heard of it with the QAnon thing and the Q drops and everything with Trump and everything. So Q is a circle. A circle is in magic where you can trap energy, okay? You can trap energy inside of that circle. You might have heard about like Abramelin magic where they circle a house with salt. Well, that circling energy or the square energy or the triangle energy, it's all just ways of trapping energy, So I'm going to be breaking a lot of this down in my decoding mastermind. It's going to come out probably sometime next month. Can't make any promises of the exact date, but I'm trying to get it out before September. So this Q is a circle that's been cut. This energy is leaking now. Q and this movement is exactly that. I know people don't see the wizardry behind it, but that is what it is. The symbol. The Q is the leaking energy. That's it, leaking energy. And this is Saturn's cube, and that's the 666. It's all Saturnian. Carbon. That's very Saturnian. All right, symbolism's been fun. We got this all-time high of 430, 4.3. 4 plus 3 is 7. Again, back to the sevens. Yay. It bottoming out at about 40. It's a pretty big swing. So this has lost about 90% of its value. It's already finished its automatic rally, so this is done. And I was vocal about this a while ago. This is the end of the automatic rally. We made it into the golden pocket, and it's like a blow off top. So the automatic rally energy is over, and now it's hoping to hold on this 382, and that's pretty obvious because after your automatic rally, we came straight down to the 382, back tested, and we're kind of hovering around that level right now. And the next level that's in the cards is your 236, and that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. That's the big level to hold for structure, because once you break below that 236, it tends to double bottom, and off of that double bottom, you don't know where it can go after. So I know people are super bullish on Quant, but just be careful, with getting a little bit too excited. Because this could definitely have a larger pullback into the $50 range at the end of this year, sometime into September, October. For sure, it could be back down at 40. Would not be surprising to me. So you want to look at that technical level of the 236, and we blasted straight through the 236 and haven't really returned back and tested it since. And that to me says that $70 is in the card. Could be as early as August. And there does look to be like a rejection trend line coming in right here. Something like this, along the lines of this. And if I was to turn this into a area chart, kind of see what I mean. So we could actually, in the short term, depending on how Bitcoin goes, break above this, back test it into the 0.5 fib, and have a finish off on a double top of this prior high. I do not think that this is going to go much higher than $150 at this time, and then we'll see how it interacts later. Maybe something like that. But if it just continues down from here, that wouldn't be weird for me, because it's already completed its automatic rally, and you can't just completely disregard Wyckoff. It is what it is. Anyone who studies Wyckoff sees how brilliant it is. So we could potentially have one more move up to like this 150 range, double top on this level right here, but then I suspect lights out after that. Not too much to say, because this has been in this range now, given to extremes for about 560 days, with the majority of the data between $100 and $131. We had this extreme here, which was your selling climax, and then we had this extreme up here, which is your as above, so below. That's your automatic rally, and it almost looks identical, like the as above, so below energy. Now it's just back in that median band between the 0.5 and 382. So your next levels are clean. 236 or somewhere into the 618, but I don't think it's going to get back into the golden pocket. So we're going to go over to H bar now. All right. We have a loss of about 93. So that's definitely a selling climax vibe, but not really too much excitement on this AR, if we could even call it one. Yeah, remember what I taught you guys? The 382 is everything. So if we can't get above the 382, we're not really calling it automatic rally, and it couldn't get above that. So this is a very bad looking chart in that regard. which it's not. That shouldn't surprise people. I mean, wow. Okay, right over here was March of 2020. That was during your C19 crash. You could see that support coming in at around 3 cents all the way up until December, the end of that year before we went into the bull run. And H-bar is right back at those trading levels. So going from the C19 support level to today, it's only up 58%. So this is not the HODL coin for sure. It's more a trader's coin since it's been launched. That's pretty obvious going off the data. Yeah, this type of move right here below the 382 is not convincing, and it makes me feel more bearish on this. You know what's kind of messed up is if this started to break below 3 cents in the future, which it's only at 4 cents now, so below 3 cents is definitely in the cards in September, October. If it goes all the way back to a penny like it did over here, then it might not have an all-time high in the next cycle. It might do kind of what XRP and Stellar Lumens did, where the top of 2017 or 2018 in like January doesn't get tested again, and all it has is a big automatic rally into 2024. So I'm going to pull it like this, and I'm going to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about. And I don't want this to happen. It's not like I'm asking for it. It doesn't really matter. You know, whatever happens, happens. But I'm giving you guys an alternative concept here. So let's just say Bitcoin goes up to 35, 37K. It brings this up to a double top. Micro. And it M's instead of W's. We have an M pattern. Brings us down all the way into here to like the end of the year. Back into this prior low. Then we buy back. And then into the next cycle, this thing only makes it back up to like here. And that's how it looks, just like with XRP. Remember XRP in 2018 went up to like $3.30, and then in 2021 it only went up to $1.90 something, almost $2. You see kind of like my theory here? That wouldn't shock me. But now consider that off of this break below the 236 and coming all the way down to the lower end of like a penny, that's still a nice move. That's about 1,700%, 1,500 to 1,700. So there's still a huge opportunity here. You know, I'm not disregarding that. Huge opportunity. What does the stock market do? 20% a year? It used to be about 7 to 9, but lately, due to inflation, I mean, yeah, it's probably pushing into the 20%. So from this fall time to just the end of Q4 of 2024, if you can make 1,500%, like there's nothing to complain about there. Just keep that in mind. But as for the short term, you know, I would entertain the idea of maybe one more test up to 9 cents for H-bar. I don't think it can make it up much more. It looks too sluggish, and clearly the retail is not in it to win it on this one. Also, is H-bar going anywhere? Probably not. I think it's, you know, ISO compliant. It's here to stay. So does that mean that it's going to be always bullish and that's great and it can't go down more? No. All the ISO compliant tokens since the beginning have had horrible charts. I mean, look at IOTA. You see this idea that I shared earlier about this cycle concept where it had an all-time high and then we barely got a new all-time high in the next cycle. That's what I just was talking about with H-bar. We know it could happen again. IOTA didn't get in trouble with the SEC. So why didn't this move up into a new? You see how it's not all about the Securities and Exchange Commission lawsuit against Ripple? I want people to see that, you know? The same situation with IOTA. Same with Stellar Lumens. Like Stellar Lumens wasn't in a lawsuit with the SEC. And look at the chart. High of 2018, lower high into 2021. It's proof in the charts, guys. So if there's no SEC case against Stellar Foundation, then why couldn't it go up into new all-time high? So this shows you that it's more based in the mythology. It's more based in astrology and in gematria and in this code than it is in this exoteric stuff. Because you can't just tie all the things that were going on with Ripple back to these projects. They're completely different companies ran by different people. Of course, they're all in cahoots with each other at the end of the day, but that's outside of this concept. The price charts show it all. All right, we're going over to persistence. XPRT. Ooh, all right. This is a really horrifying chart. Mamma mia. This has lost 99% of its value. Wow. Okay. No structure. This is price discovery to the downside. I would love to go back to the last time I analyzed this project and see, what were my responses to this, because I know a lot of people are into this project. I know a lot of people have created their own theories. I forgot who used to talk about it, like what influencer used to talk about it, but there's a reason why it's become popular for whatever reason. Wow. Yeah, this is really not good. See, you can't gamble on no chart data. You can't gamble on price discovery to the downside. Like, you're never going to know when this bottom comes in, guys. Just because it got to, 15 and it's pivoted up 80%, that doesn't mean it's over. This shit can literally come back down to 10 cents, keep going and keep going and keep going until it's a penny. It's lost 99% already. Who's to say that this is up? You do not know what this September and October has in store for us. And charts like this, it's really like, I would not touch this with a 1,000-foot pole. Horrifying. There's your main trend line, dude. And if this gets rejected again, which it seems to every time, double bottom is in the cards right now as your next move. It has not been recovering with the Bitcoin automatic rally at all. Bitcoin was at $15,000 when this thing was at 45 cents. And since it's lost almost 40% of its value up to today's price and ultimately lost 65% of its value while Bitcoin was on a recovery of, let's look, 100%. So Bitcoin has effectively doubled since hitting 15K, and this has lost value. Like, it's on a highway to Hades. Get out. Like, this is really not the project to be concerned with. And I've probably been saying the same thing every single Red Pill podcast that I've covered this project. It's hopium at this point, a recovery. Like, I would be really, really worried to be hopeful on this. Let's just put it like that. As a technical analyst and decoder, this is pretty rough. Pretty rough. Watch out. This trend line's pretty clean. I'm going to keep this trend line here at best. Let's pull up a fib. I don't want you guys to seem like I'm trolling right now. Like, I'm being honest. Maybe 236, maybe. And then, yeah, maybe 236. And it might have to happen like fast, like an idea like this, where you outside of the trend line, boom. But dude, it's getting rejected on this trend line every single time since September. Oh, since the start of the Shemitah. Since the start of the Shemitah, which was almost 6. Oh, yo. I just forgot about that. Fuck, guys. I forgot the date that the Shemitah started in 2021. What was it? Was it the 7th or something? It was like September 7th, I think. Yo, it's like been, like almost 666 days since the start of the Shemitah. Well, like, it's over now, but you know what I mean. Since Rosh Hashanah 2021 that started the Shemitah. Super interesting. All right, let's get over to synthetics. Okay, different story here, but still horrifying downtrend. losing 95% of its value. Yeah, perpetual lower highs and lower lows. This is your C19 crash. And off of that support level, this thing's only up about 200%. That's not good. It did have a huge cycle run, though, between recovery of that C19 crash and its buying climax, about 3,500%. And if you got in on this thing in the bear market of 2019, then shit, 30,000%, 40,000%. So it like pulled off a theta. It's actually similar to like the theta chart, where it had an incredible run, like really, really insane gains. And then so far it's had a very dramatic, arduous sell-off, 95% since. This looks very, very similar to the theta chart, actually. Yeah. All right, let's pull a fib and see what we're working with. The data is a little bit nicer to look at. So double bottom so far, early too. So this is concerning a little bit, actually, because if it cannot hold this level, then the next level this is moving down to is about 74 cents. And I suspect that's in the cards by the fall time. Now, that would be perfect. All right, I'm just going to show you really quickly. Have one basic trend line to work with, and it's boom, right there. About 74 cents is where I would anticipate synthetics coming down to. It's funny, like their logo kind of looks like the XRP logo, but it's like it's like a DNA strand, and it's called synthetics, right? I wonder what this project's about. Sounds like some AI, artificial intelligence, robot cloning center bullshit. Anyways, yeah, I would consider 74 to 76 cents being an opportunity. I would entertain that level right there. Let me just save this and let me share a bearish fib and see where that 1618 brings us. Oh, wow. I mean, does it get any cleaner than that, guys? I don't know if you saw where I pulled this, but I'm pulling it from this rejection right here. Watch. This is how magical pulling a bear fib is. Look at the lows. Like, let me match this up. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah. Okay. So you see where the 1618 is right there on those lows. Like, that's how insane this idea. So the way you want to use this is if you can get close to determining that breaking point between that next leg lower and that clean rejection level, it could give you an idea of where to expect the bigger next move down to be. So yeah, if we fail this 1618 on this macro pull, the next one we're going to pull is right here. We're going to actually shift it down from the local low, which is there, up to this cycle high. So that's how we're going to maneuver it. And look at where it takes us, right in between that band that I shared with you guys. I know you can't see it that easily, but boom, 1618 sitting right there around 68 cents, between the 76 cent and 65, what I marked out. So that just proves to you with the fibs that that's a high likelihood of us coming down to that area. And now for any bullish move, it could be around $3.36 because you want to use the 236 data in reverse, as opposed to it's a support. When you pull a bull fib, when you pull a bear fib, it tends to be your resistance, and that's clean right there. So between your 236 and your top right there around 440 is what I would anticipate for a bullish move up if we can break higher. And then on your downside, you have that bigger pullback. And I'll save these charts so we could look at them in the future. I do not mind this synthetics chart as much as this XPRT chart. That was pretty rough to look at. And across the board, I mean, Quant right now is probably not the best bet, or Hedera. I don't actually have any buying vibes at all personally. I finished that up back in March. I'm just in de-risking mode right now, and yeah, we're really close, I think, to the finality of this, guys. So it's been an amazing ride, you know, and we're just getting started. I think really the most fun part of all of this is the deeper correction that I see coming, and watching these stock market indices start to slow down a little bit, you know. We have this back test on this potential fib line right there at the bottom of the 618 for the Dow Jones. We have this S&P 500 breaking the 702, getting a little bit below the 786. That's really amazing that we pushed up that high. That's definitely automatic rally vibes. And then this NASDAQ, boom, right at the top of the golden pocket on the 786. This is amazing. And it does feel like it's stalling out now. So I'm going to leave it at that. We had so much to talk about in today's episode, and I hope you took some notes along the way. Please rewatch this again if needed, maybe in a couple days after you let some of it soak in. And again, we are moving into a very interesting time frame with the launch of FedNow service. I'll keep you guys updated every step of the way with anything else that I feel will be important to share. In the background, I'm going to be working on this new August Blue Moon Decoded. I would love to get that out in a couple weeks. And of course, I have the bigger project, the Decoding Mastermind, maybe in about a month from now, the start of August, I'm going to be releasing a poll to ask you guys basically frequently asked questions regarding decoding, what you guys are most interested in learning about. I'll give you guys the news on that update when that time comes. But for now, enjoy the rest of your weekend in the Matrix. Much love.